How's it going, everybody? I got some more Magic for you today with a little bit of a Rakdos Sacrifice deck. I wanted to make use of the new Sephiroth card and a Rakdos shell, something that isn't being seen as common because obviously it's being more popularly used in Orzhov or even Mardu. And I do have Orzhov and Mardu decks for that as well, but I thought Rakdos would be fun and interesting because we get to try out a few different things as well. I've also got Garland in here, which is a blast. This card is absolutely a ton of fun and synergizes very, very well in this deck with any of the number of non-creature spells in it, such as Disturbing Mirth. We've got lots of removal with Go for the Throat, Final Vengeance, Torch the Tower. Hopeless Nightmare triggers it as well, so you get to surveil very often in this deck. You get to surveil whenever you play a non-creature spell with Garland out. You get to surveil anytime you bargain with Torch the Tower. You get to surveil anytime Greedy Freebooter dies. You can also surveil for 2, or scry for 2. Maybe all these are scry. No, that one's surveil. That one's scry. So you get to scry with Hopeless Nightmare and Torch the Tower. You get to surveil with Garland. Either way, lots of opportunity for you to check the top of your library and kind of cycle out which cards you do and don't want. Obviously, Sephiroth comes in here as a heavy hitter. Any of your creatures that die, it will, not even any of your creatures, anytime a creature dies, your opponent will lose 1 life and you will gain 1 life, and if this happens 4 times in a single turn, it will flip Sephiroth, making him a 5/5 with flying, and you get an emblem with the same ability. And then Sephiroth also has the ability of anytime he enters or attacks, you can sacrifice a creature, and if I do, draw a card. The transformed One-Winged Angel version gets to do that with any number of creatures other than itself, so you can actually just kind of pop your whole board at that point and kill people if you want. So a very fun card, a very important card that this deck is built around, but I wanted to make a build that was effective even without it hitting the battlefield, essentially, so I think this is a really good shell for it. We have, as I said, Garland. As a standard, it's a 3/2. It has the ability whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you surveil for 1. And then it has, albeit a pretty expensive, but a return from the graveyard effect where it will, if you pay 7, you can return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed. It has to be done as a sorcery, but if you do that, it becomes Chaos the Endless, a 5/5 flying demon. And if Chaos dies, then it flips back to Garland and gets shuffled back into your library instead of remaining in your graveyard. A little bit sad, because obviously if you could recast it as Chaos to begin with, getting it back in the graveyard means you could do it again, but still, it's very useful. I'm only running it as a 2-of because it is a little bit restrictive being black and red, you know, kind of like the Disturbing Mirth. It requires 1 of each mana, so sometimes it cannot always be hit on turn 2, things like that. But either way, a 2-drop 3/2 on its own is really good, and like I said, you get constant upside from the surveil if nothing else, and if it gets killed, you do have that late game upside from it being in the graveyard. And then I do have Stadium Headliner in here. Not always the greatest card, easy for it no longer to be able to start attacking in and getting you value. However, I would say this is something very interchangeable with something like Urbrask's Forge. Urbrask's Forge can win you games and be fantastic, however, it has a higher mana cost, so it's a lot harder for you to utilize it to trigger the Corey Steelcutter, which we have in here. This is a very, very aggressive deck, and since we have so many 1-drops between the Stadium Headliner, Clockwork Percussionist, Hopeless Nightmare, Greedy Freebooter, some of our removal, that it's very, very easy to trigger the Steelcutter. And even if you can't trigger it, having the Steelcutter be able to give your creatures haste as soon as they're played, like say for example we're in turn 4 and I have only 1 card in hand, or maybe even turn 5, I play down a Sephiroth or a Garland, equip it with Corey Steelcutter and get to attack on that turn, that could instantly give Sephiroth 2 triggers because he gets to enter and attack, meaning that that's already 2 instances where he can sacrifice creatures to draw cards. You may be able to potentially get 2 more on top of that to get him to flip really easily in the late game, as long as you've stocked up on these other creatures to throw in. We do have Fear of Missing Out in here as well. It's really important, in my opinion, to be able to keep cycling through cards and keep a hand built. That's what's going to help you enable the Corey Steelcutter more often than not, is between Fear of Missing Out and Disturbing Mirth. Now, you might think that utilizing things like Hopeless Nightmare, Final Vengeance, and Disturbing Mirth is kind of a counterpoint to this deck, because all of these also have Enchantment Sacrifice. You know, they're not necessarily creatures, they can't synergize with Sephiroth. However, I think that's a really good thing. You're not always going to have Sephiroth on the field. Sometimes you want to build up a board and have all of your Greedy Freebooters, Clockwork Percussionists, Stadium Headliners kind of build up and sit on board so that when you have Sephiroth, you can utilize them. So being able to sacrifice the Mirths to get extra creatures, the Nightmares to get extra Scry, things like that early, it helps you get to your Sephiroth and have a board for Sephiroth. So it seems to really help in that regard, in my opinion. A few other cards here. We do have Go for the Throat as a couple of, just so that you have consistent removal. That pretty much covers all of this. I am using a Midgar City of Mako, as well as a Lindblom. As far as the Midgar, you get to use this. You may sacrifice an artifact or creature if you do draw 2 cards. This is really fantastic if your opponent's running something like Get Lost and gives you those map tokens, as well as you can sacrifice the treasure tokens that you get from Greedy Freebooter. So it doesn't have to be creatures that you sacrifice in that regard too, but even if it is, you know, you can sacrifice a Greedy Freebooter, a Clockwork Percussionist, whatever, and still get that extra draw, which is really nice. And then the land itself, it comes in tapped. Then on top of that, we have the Lindblom. This one's a little less effective. It's Mage Siege allows you to create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token for 3 mana, which is somewhat expensive, but that Mage token is going to have value. For one, it is a sacrifice target if you absolutely need to sacrifice it or chump block with it. Additionally, it also will ping your opponents in the very similar way to how Sephiroth does anytime you do a non-creature spell, including if you just play a non-creature spell like Disturbing Mirth, and then sacrifice the Mage token to it, you're still going to get the trigger where it'll ping them for 1 damage, then you get to draw 2 cards. So, really nice. I have been playing this deck in best of 3, so I do have a sideboard available. Ghost Vacuum for graveyard decks, which are absolutely flooding the meta right now. Suplex, which in my opinion is just a better version of Abrade. I'm pretty sure Abrade is instant speed, so that's the one downside to this card comparatively. However, it being sorcery means that it still works very well with Corey Steelcutter, with you getting 2 plays in 1 turn. And it exiles a creature if it would die from the 3 damage, and it exiles the artifact. So it doesn't give things to the graveyard for your opponents if you have to use it, so it's very nice in that regard. I do have some Deadly Cover-Ups for some board wipes. Similarly, also have Brotherhood's End, can deal with artifacts, can deal with board wipes. It's really important now that these equipment decks are so popular. We've got Liliana if we want to get a little extra removal or a little extra interaction in our deck for the deck that we're going up against. A lot of times this will be something that I sideboard in for control decks, similar with Duress. And then finally we have Nibelheim of Flame. I really like this card, especially in situations where maybe you have Sephiroth, especially if you have Sephiroth flipped, or even Chaos, for example. You can choose that creature, and then it deals that much damage to all other creatures, essentially letting you wipe the board. If you choose Sephiroth for this and wipe out all your little 1/1s, but also hit some of your opponent's things, it'll be very, very easy to flip Sephiroth and attack for, you know, potentially 5 damage there. So, really effective, really interesting deck here. It's different than what I've been seeing other people doing, so that's why I wanted to play around with it, and I've had some fun with it using it the past couple of days. I will go ahead and get into games. I am going to be playing best of 1 like I normally do, just to keep the video on the shorter end, because best of 3 tends to run on a lot longer. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. This deck's a lot of fun. Alright, unfortunately opponent gets to go first. We have some pretty nice early removal though, so I'll try it. Let's go ahead with this Headliner since they didn't have anything else happening. Blood Witch, okay. We'll get the Cutter going. We'll deal with the Blood Witch probably next turn unless he does something else. Okay, plays his own Sephiroth. Probably gets rid of the Blood Witch, I suppose. No? Okay. So let's see here. We have land. We'll go ahead and start here. I want to do this. It would probably actually be better if I just go here. And then here. I would like to do a sacrifice here, but then I can't do any other plays. So I think I'm going to start here. He could kill my stadium headliner now, which is fine, but he can't really do anything else. Play out my mountain next turn. We'll probably get some use out of this Midgar. Starscape Cleric, he didn't offspring it. Okay, what do we want to do here? If I do this for 3, I don't have the mana to do more. I think I just gotta go here. That way I can draw a card. So generate a new token for me. And get rid of the creature. Really do need some form of card draw now, though. Another Bitter Triumph on my creature. Okay, that's pretty fantastic. Let's go ahead and go with Disturbing Mirth. And nothing but land? You've absolutely got to be kidding me. Okay, well that was bullshit. It's worth noting this deck's like a 22 land deck. I should not be getting flooded like this. Marlin will be fun. Got 3 left here, right? Let's go ahead and do this real quick. Okay, he'll be able to block that and then kill my 0/1 if he really wants to. Next turn I'll be getting 2 Corey Cutter cards, though. Oh, and we've got a Sephiroth, so this is going to be... Oh, come on, at least let me do the thing. Oh, well. Well, that was a good first game. Got really unlucky with those double land hits off the first Disturbing Mirth, but you can see how making these constant Steel Cutter tokens is how you're going to have infinite fodder for Sacrifice. And drawing more cards with Disturbing Mirth allows you to continue triggering them over and over more often than not. Same thing with Sephiroth. I really wanted to get Sephiroth down because that was going to draw me another card too. But anyway, Game 1 done. We'll see how things continue for Game 2 and 3. Alright, we're into Game 2. Opening hand looks pretty good. Unfortunately, opponent still goes first. Seems like that's just going to be the whole trend today. I'm going to start with Mountain so that I can get Percussionist going quicker. Okay, as far as here, we'll go Swamp, attack with the Percussionist, and then I'm going to go with Disturbing Mirth because I want more options. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's good land, too. Confounding Riddle from our opponent. They're trying to look for cards. They got Omniscience in the graveyard. That's extremely bad for us. We'll start off here. Garland's a good hit there. And then we'll get a monkey going. And then we got to discard one card, so we'll get rid of a Sulfur. Moment of Truth, so they don't have Abuelo's options yet. Gets rid of our Garland. That's a little sad. Okay, this will be fun. So we do have Sephiroth here. I'm going to start off by attacking. Then we're going to go Sephiroth. Sack Monkey. That's a good card. What do we get off top? Can't do anything with that. Honestly, I think we need to hold, so I'm going to end here. Because my only real chance is if I torch the tower, this Omniscience, and he doesn't get another one. Temporary lockdown. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. My turn. Got a land. I'm gonna go greedy freebooter. Let's go with Disturbing Mirth on the freebooter. Gives me an extra land. I will play that Stadium Headliner because it's a creature. Oh no, I didn't draw it yet. Okay. So what I will do then is I'll go FOMO, keep up the treasure token, and discard this Cliffs. Yeah, and that's fine. We don't care about that. Still got to keep up this torch, though. That matters a lot. So if he doesn't have another Omniscience or a counterspell in hand, we're okay. Alright, he left himself open. Now we can kind of go crazy. Let's get a Steel Cutter. And then I want to do non-creature spells as much as possible. Okay, we got our second win, and this one was against Omniscience. We got very lucky, obviously. He left himself open with the Omniscience, but his hand was almost empty. So I thought we had a good chance of him not having a counter spell available or another Omniscience. And so he went straight for drawing and didn't have what he needed to go for Omniscience or things like that. 3 steps ahead is bad with Omniscience, because you still have to pay the bonus spree cost to get the effect, even if you're getting to cast the spell for free. It's only the one mana drop in the casting cost that's free. So, yeah, we pulled out a win here. Game 2, really good one, actually. Good, difficult opponent to go up against for that, but we got lucky. Anyway, we'll go into Game 3 and see how that goes. Alright, opponent gets to go first again, but we've got some great options here, so I'll keep. Almost definitely going to start with the Percussionist. Yeah, no change there. Let's see if we can't get in with Monkey. He may cut it down, but that's fine, because we still get value from it dying. Almost definitely going Garland next turn, which he'll almost certainly kill, but Garland's such a good card. Alright, did decide to kill it. Now plans might change based off this. Ooh, yeah, definitely going Quarry Cutter next turn then. Deep Cavern Bat cannot even take it. And then for turn 3, we'll be trying to go for a 2-drop, then a 1-drop. Okay, he took our 1-drop, so we'll have to draw it into 1. We'll see if we're able to. Should be able to, since we have FOMO. Pinged for 1. Did get a 1-drop, very nice. Let's go ahead and start with Fear of Missing Out. I'm going to discard the Sulfur. He went for the kill on it, which is totally fine, I don't care at all. A little sad it didn't go to the graveyard, but that doesn't really matter much either. Then we'll go here, we get the Steel Cutter trigger, and now we have at least a bit of a board presence. Okay, this next turn's pretty easy too, we'll draw. That's a nice card also. So what I'm thinking here is something along the lines of this. And then this. And then this right here. Now our opponent's down to 1 card, and we've got a great board. What does he have for his last card? Oh, so there's game 3. All 3 very quick wins, but this deck is a lot of fun. You just got to play it a little smart, and it gets crazy. Next turn, we were probably going to attack in, depending on what he did. Sacrifice like the headliner token, get Sephiroth, draw a card. Maybe get 1 more card coming in with that if we had a 1-drop or something, you know, or a land. But yeah, I really like this deck. It is really aggressive. If you get into the late game, it gets really difficult. Because it's just not meant for late game sustainability. A lot of times you'll win even before flipping Sephiroth, but it is absolutely doable and very fun when it happens too. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me.